I like to sleep on it because it just, there was no option that seemed good to both make sure nothing happened in the meantime, but not also have to wait the couple months for either the driving thing. And I also just needed to know, like, the rest of the state, whether it was just the driving or, you know, if we were looking at other things. And so I chewed on it overnight and didn't sleep much and got up the next morning, and I still just couldn't think of any other way to sate my worries.
So tell the jury the process by which you end up on your way to Detroit Lakes.
So that day, I first made sure my stepdad wouldn't mind watching, you know, the kids getting to school the next morning. I thought about the things I would want to, like, check in the house, check in the phone for any signs of, you know, decline or not safe things. I just thought of all of those things. And
did you make a list?
I did make a list.
What time did you end up leaving for Detroit Lakes?
I still tried to sleep on it a little bit. You know, I had everything in place, and I got up at like 1 in the morning, and yeah, decided I would say I left about 1 in the morning.
Why not go later in the day when Carol Mitchell would be up?
Because even over much smaller things, there were still good times, but there were more times if she felt kind of threatened in any way, it was becoming a bit more, I hate to say verbally abusive, but, you know, unkind things. Like the thing about how we must not have loved my dad. So I didn't want a confrontation. I didn't want to hear something awful. I just couldn't. Also, it would have spun her up and got her agitated. And if she would have had any idea someone was checking to see whether she should still be living in her home, she was very adamant she wanted to just live in her home by herself and kind of be left alone, or that someone, you know, was checking her phone, which is technology. She just wouldn't have allowed it. There probably would have been an argument at the door, and that would have been that.
So you take off from Woodbury at 1 a.m. What time do you get to Detroit Lakes?
I don't remember exactly, but with the time it takes, I believe it was 4:30 or just a little after.
How long are you hoping to be inside the home?
I had it in my head, because I've done shift work a lot of my life, that people start kind of waking up around 5, so I wanted to be done before 5 so that no one saw me.
Had you been to that home times before?
Oh, yeah. Numerous. I'm sorry.
With the same car that you drove that night?
Yes. So, so some of the neighbors, I mean, we had been staying there a lot for the 4 years until Liam joined our family. And then the last year, I'd been trying to, you know, come and visit every month through, I think, November. I had made it up to the house. So I'd been there a lot then. So people would have known me, me in the car, neighbors and stuff.
Is that why you parked a block away?
Yes.
What were you wearing?
I had had a sweatshirt on, but I was wearing mostly black underneath.
Were you wearing anything on your hands?
I don't know when I would have put it on, but I had a flashlight glove I used for camping.
The glove from the receipt that we saw earlier in the trial?
Oh, yes.
That you bought before your dad died?
Yes.
Were you carrying anything else with you?
I had a backpack.
What was inside the backpack?
2 laptops, water, some snack containers, but they actually had been left over in the black backpack, and I'd forgotten to clear them out. Pry bar, some gloves.
Flashlight?
Oh, yes. I had an extra flashlight.
Is that flashlight right there that has the sock over the top?
Yes.
Did you put that sock over the top of that flashlight?
With my son, yes.
With the intent of the night before you came up here?
Oh, no, it had been like that for a while.
Explain why.
My adoptive son is very afraid of the dark.
This is Liam?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
It's okay.
Liam Mitchell. Very afraid of the dark. Even now that he's been with us for 4 years, still a lot of night terrors and nightmares and night terrors and just a lot going on, to the point that I moved a bed into my room so that he could sleep in my room with me, and he still does to this day. So I need it pitch black to sleep. And even with the comfort of being in the same room as me, he needs some light. And so that was always a struggle of ours. And at some point, both boys got a flashlight, and he wanted to use his to have at night. And it's a really, actually, even though it's small, a bright flashlight. So the compromise was that he could have it if we had something over it to not make it so bright that it would wake me up if, he was turning it on and off at some point.
Hence the sock?
Hence the sock.
Was the list that you had created the day before in your backpack also?
Yes.
Did you have latex gloves in your backpack?
I did.
Why?
I didn't think Carol was that far down the road. But the issue with my grandfather and the feces, is kind of emblazoned in my head. And I didn't know what I might find, since I hadn't done I hadn't been in the house to check since November. Especially with her having cats, was the litter box getting cleaned, and just some of those, or was there old food in the fridge, those type of things, that if I did find something disturbing, my intent would have been to stay and clean.
You said you had 2 laptops in the backpack?
Yes.
Tell the jury about the 2 laptops.
One was the one that was Carol's, or that she had given me. And the other one was my own one that I usually did work on.
So let's talk about Carol's first. Let's break them down. Just why did you bring Carol's laptop, although I guess technically it was your laptop at that point, with you back there?
I didn't know what else to do. I felt weird giving away the only thing that still had email on it, just in case, that was ever needed again. I didn't want to keep it. I did want to handle things the right way. And I didn't want to have that temptation to just be looking at the records or whatever else. So I thought the best place was to just return it to the house.
Did you end up leaving the computer at Carol Mitchell's house?
No, I hadn't gotten to that
Why not?
because things went sideways.
And you got arrested?
Yes.
What about the other laptop, your work laptop? Why did you bring that?
Because I was tired and stressed out and I forget things. And I wanted to be able to, and I work better on an actual computer. And I wanted to, once I'd seen whatever was in the house, be able to document it before I drove back home and potentially forgot something.
I want to circle back to your attire quickly. Considering the mostly black clothing, the flashlight glove, the flashlight covered with a sock, are you denying that you were trying to avoid being seen?
Oh, I was trying to avoid being seen.
Why?
Because the neighbors knew me and my car, and the point of checking and not rallying Carol up and not having her get more paranoid would have been kind of futile if one of the neighbors would have seen me and told her, hey, we saw Nicole.
So let's start from when you get out of your car a block away from Carol Mitchell's house. What do you do? The moment you get out of your car, what do you do?
There's a little thing behind the houses.
An alley?
Yeah. I walked down the alley, walked to the back door, which was actually the main door of the house. I forgot to mention I had a key to the house.
How did you have a key to the house?
I mean, we were staying there a lot. So I think pretty early on, the first time I brought Sam to the house, he would have been 2 months old. So I think that was February of 2017. And then from there, we were there 2 or 3 times a year. And then when I could work remotely, even more. So I would say some point early on.
Yeah. Do your best to just be a little slower, please. That's okay. Did you use the key to get into Carol Mitchell's house that morning or evening?
I did not. The floodlight came on, and I kind of paused at the door to make sure, like, the floodlight being, other than the bedrooms, most of the windows don't have treatments or shears, so the light goes right in the house. So I paused for a second to make sure I didn't see any lights go on. And while I was looking in the window for the back door, I could see like a chair pushed up against the door and some sort of bar, and it almost reminded me of like a booby trap. And I couldn't figure out that there would be any way I could get the door open without creating a lot of noise, even if I could get past the stuff.
So what did you do?
That raised my anxiety. The fact that the door, I mean, it made me even more stressed out and a little more desperate to look in the house. And the egress window was right there, and I decided to see if there was any way I could get in that.
Was that window open?
No, it was not.
So how did you get in?
I went in the well. I had a pry bar. One of the screen doors sticks sometimes, and even if it's unlocked, and so it was to like get the lock open, So I tried that at first. The window was super rotted, and it's not a crowbar. It's just something I have for painting. So it's not meant. It started bending, and the wood started flaking a little bit, and I didn't want to cause damage. A little edge was forward, and I was able to actually kind of like use my hands and like pull it. I don't know that it was locked because it came open pretty easily, or maybe.
So it opens up, and what do you do?
I entered the home.
Where are you in the home when you get inside?
There's a spare bedroom downstairs.
What do you do once you're inside the spare bedroom in the downstairs of Carol Mitchell's home?
I was stressed, so I'm not 100% on the order, but I believe my shoes were very dirty, and we don't wear shoes in the house anyway. So I think I was walking to the bathroom and set them at the edge of the couch, and I'd had a long drive, so I went and used the bathroom and set my backpack outside the bathroom, and then I started to proceed to check the basement.
Had you used the bathroom in the basement before?
Yes.
You said you proceeded to check the basement. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Just looking for anything out of sort. So I just, went through the rooms and looked around. The two big things that I wanted to make sure I saw was just to make sure like the cat box was being maintained and, nothing was really getting forgotten. There was also a meat freezer in the basement. I did look in there, and there was stuff in there, which my concern would be Dad used it usually for his fishing fish, and sometimes my uncle would give venison, and I knew none of that would have happened in the last year. So not the end of the world, but I would be willing to guess the food in there was bad.
Was the litter box okay?
Yes.
After you check the basement and notice those things, what do you do next?
I went up to the main floor.
What are you looking for on the main floor?
One of my other concerns was that Carol, when between Dad's funeral and when I saw her in June, she had gotten, to me, scary thin. And I asked her about it, and she had said she had dropped from 140 to 100 pounds. And so I wanted to check the fridge and make sure, there was food in there, that it didn't look like anything was spoiled. Again, just kind of check around for anything that looked out of sorts, or like there was evidence of her normal cleaning standards, which was a pretty high standard, and, decline.
What was your conclusion?
Next, I honestly don't. It's such a hard balance. Someone's freedom and when is that tipping point? And the other thing that concerned me a lot is one of my mom's manifestations of dementia right now is occasionally leaving the stove on. So maybe that's just a me worry, but Carol was actually starting to, and I leave stuff accidentally on the stove sometimes, but this looked actually stored, she had her papers, some bills and things, almost looking organized, but sitting on the stove. And then the other thing that caught my eye was that on the dining table, there was a stack of unopened mail, which again, I just had a concern, were the bills getting paid? Because if they don't get paid, you could lose the house or something else.
How did seeing all this make you feel?
in general, I was just really worried. So I guess relieved that it wasn't so bad, but also, you know, there were some things that kind of verified a couple of concerns that I had.
So at this point, are you basically done with your welfare check?
No, typically, I know I sleep with my phone. I know most people do, but typically Dad and Carol used to leave their phones in the kitchen overnight, and I hadn't seen the phone in there. And I wanted to find that because I was concerned about what she might or might not have been removing or things like that.
So when it's not on the counter in the kitchen, like it had been previously, what did you decide to do?
Well, I'd already been through the house, and the only place I could think it would be would have been with her in her room. So I decided to go see if I could even see it or anything.
How did you get into Carol Mitchell's room?
So she has 2 cats, so the doors are left open at night. So it was already cracked. I'm not as thin as the cats, so I had to crack it open a little more, and I went and stood inside. The upper floor is actually pretty bright, and in the basement I'd actually just turned the lights on. And on that floor, there's a street light just outside, so it kind of floods the light. So going from the brighter hallway into the bedroom was pitch black, and I couldn't see a thing.
So if you can't see anything, what do you do?
I could actually hear her breathing. I know this sounds creepy. I sat and listened to her breathe for a couple seconds. Kind of like when I check on my kids at night and they're breathing and I can hear them and I know they're okay. It had been a hard year, and it was kind of nice that in that moment it seemed peaceful.
How long do you think you did that?
I mean, it felt like only 10 or 15 seconds.
What made you stop?
Carol started to stir, and I was hoping she would just stir because then I was gonna, there was no way I was gonna be able to see the phone. It was just way too dark. And I was gonna leave. She did not just stir. She got out of bed, and I was hoping, because when I get out of bed in the middle of the night, it's almost always to go right to the bathroom. And so I was hoping, because it was pitch black, she would, you know, maybe leave, go to the bathroom, and same thing, I would just get out. Instead, she came toward the door and ended up bumping into where I was standing and grabbed for me. And I froze, and she kind of patted me a little bit and said, "What the hell are you doing here?" And it sounded like her mad voice. And I was afraid of a confrontation, and I kind of dashed into the hall, and then she chased me.
Did you go into Carol Mitchell's bedroom to harm her in any way?
Oh, no.
Did you go into Carol Mitchell's bedroom to get the gun that was in there?
I didn't. I had no idea there was a gun, or if there was one.
Do you regret going into Carol Mitchell's bedroom?
I mean, if I hadn't, I would have left. We wouldn't be here today. You know, this has impacted everyone in my life, including making Carol much more paranoid, and my kids. And so I regret what happened, and maybe that I didn't do it the right way. I don't regret being worried. I think you should try to look out for your family.
Do you blame Carol Mitchell for how she reacted? Oh, it turned out.
Not at all.
Why not?
Waking up to someone in your room in the night with no context, even if I later found out it was my kid, would be scary.
So now let's go back to where you dash out in the hallway. Does Carol Mitchell follow you?
Yes.
Talk about that.
So she ran after me, and I didn't want a confrontation, and I didn't want to like put hands on her or anything, and the only place, and the doors were barricaded, and the only place I could get a door between us was by going back into the basement, and there's like a utility door to another part of the basement right at the bottom of the stairs. And so I ran down the stairs and got the door between us and kind of waited to hear what she did.
What did she do?
Well, I didn't hear her for a minute. And so I opened the door, and I heard her say she had a knife. And I freaked out. And it was the same area my backpack happened to be in. And I was like, I can't do. And so I tried to shove my backpack out the window, and without even thinking. I mean, it was a window way up there, way too small for anything. There's no way I would have got. I mean, it was just. So as I was trying to get it out the window, I then calmed down enough, to realize that was ridiculous, and see if there was anything else I could figure out. And I think at some point I opened the door again to see what she was doing, and I realized that she was calling police.
What happened after that?
So I with the way she yelled, and the hallway was bright and chasing me, I thought she knew it was me, and she was just upset that I'd come into the house. And so I actually was like, okay, good, call the police, we'll calm this down. And so I basically just waited.
Where?
I think I was maybe kind of pacing in the utility room, and I was still pretty, and I at some point I went and just sat in the bathroom.
Did you eventually come out of the bathroom?
I did when the officers came.
And that's when they arrested you?
Correct.
Before we talk about that, I'd like to go back for a moment and talk about your conduct inside the house during the welfare check. And I'm going to ask you directly. Did you take anything from Carol Mitchell's house that night?
No.
Did you take anything of your father's that night?
No.
Did you take anything of Carol Mitchell's that night?
No.
Did you go into Carol Mitchell's house looking for any of your dad's possessions or mementos?
No.
Did you go into the house looking for anything of your father's or of Carol Mitchell's specifically?
No.
And if you wanted to take anything of your father's or Carol Mitchell's, could you have?
I wouldn't take something,
But if you wanted to.
Yes,
Explain why that is.
because Dad's like area was in the basement. Carol uses sleeping pills and usually earplugs. She would have never woken up. I think it was because I cracked the door more and there was more light in the room, but she would have never woken up. I wouldn't do that, but if I'd wanted to, she'd have never. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that?
I don't take things. I'd been asking for different things for a year, but as upset as I was that she gave away a lot of his, like, I'd wanted clothes for the boys. Like, there was a shirt that matched a shirt that Sam had. I'd gotten him matching shirts one year. So, like, that shirt would have been amazing for Sam because they'd outgrown all the gifts he'd given them. And so they literally didn't have any personal items. But at the end of the day, I was visiting every month. If there was something that I just needed that badly, I could have gotten it. And stuff is never more important than the person. And I was just worried. I was always more worried about Carol and making sure she was okay than anything about stuff.
Are you saying your conscience wouldn't allow it?
Correct.
Your conscience allowed you to trespass into her house, didn't it?
I did. To me, I understand that I did the wrong thing. To me, it felt different because it was my parents' house and I had a key and I'd been in and out of there for years. And like, if you're walking down the stairs, it was on the video, there's one of my signs.
Your campaign signs?
It was actually from this football game I was in. Long story. But yes, my kids' toys are still in the basement. Like, it felt different.
But you're not saying you had permission?
I did not have permission.
Okay. Do you think if you wouldn't have gone into Carol Mitchell's bedroom, you could have left undetected?
Yes.
And I think you touched on this, but I want to ask it specifically. Why didn't you just do that?
I was pretty upset about the driving thing. I mean, that was, to me, really the fear of her getting lost and something bad happening before I could, put the other steps in place. So at the very least, I had a couple things I wanted to look at on the phone, but at the very least, I wanted to make sure, because she would just turn things off. And part of the reason there was a problem with the phone is because if an update came, like, she just assumed everything was bad or wrong. So she wasn't even doing, like, updates on the phone because she would just, so I had a concern that because the mapping wasn't working correctly, maybe she had turned the GPS off the phone. And so that if she got lost, it would be much harder to find her, because that's usually how officers or whatever else track someone that's lost.
Looking back at how everything played out, do you wish you would have just left and not gone into her room?
To me, it's kind of a Monday morning quarterback thing. I could have never seen this. And so if I wouldn't have gone in the room, I would have been worried. I would have continued to be worried sick. But of course, as I said, this impacted everyone I care about and everything in my life. And so if I had the crystal ball, no. But then I would have been worried sick.
Your Honor, may we approach?
You may.